This is Hino's Sport, bringing you that heat and that far. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. And like the Tibetan mastiff that I am, I'm applying what? Unlimited pressure. Because pressure does what? It bursts pipes. You know I'm in beanie mode. You know when I go in beanie mode. You know when I go in beanie mode. You know when I go in beanie mode. What we talking about here? Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather. Now, I know this is going to not be popular demand, but when does He Knows the Sport gives a flying fuck? Because I don't give a fuck. This is what true alpha extraordinaires governed by true alpha economics do. They don't give a fuck. So I don't give a fuck. So either you're going to take the message or you're just not going to fucking take it. It is what it is. I'm not here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. Here's the cold-hearted, here's the unadulterated, and here's the cutthroat truth-teller fashion. Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather was on to something when they would chastise Deontay Wilder. Now, anybody that knows this platform, I'm a staunch supporter of Deontay Wilder. Let's make that fucking clear. Let me say it again, because that needs to marinate in the medulla oblongata, the corpus callosum, and in the cerebellum. So hear me and fucking hear me well. I am a staunch supporter of Deontay Wilder, but I understand the criticism that Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather made against him, because their criticism is like, yo, you're that black guy, you're that fighter, you're that black fighter. They're gonna cheat your ass. This is what you have to respect with Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather. Say what the fuck you want. They didn't allow themselves to be cheated. Andre Ward was willing to take away a few years of his boxing career because they were trying to do some fuck shit with his boxing career. Floyd Mayweather left Bob Arum because he saw the fuck shit that's happening to the Chihuahua barking behind the damn fence in Terrence Crawford. But it was happening to him, and he wasn't trying to deal with that shit. Floyd Mayweather cut against the grain. This is what true alpha extraordinaires governed by true alpha economics do. They cut against the grain, just like I'm doing in this fucking video. You cut against the fucking grain. All followers go this way, leaders go that way. Let me say it again. All followers go this way, leaders go that way. We cut against the fucking grain. It's natural. If you're a natural born leader, this is what the fuck you do. This is the message that Floyd Mayweather and his hard chastisement was doing of Deontay Wilder. This is what Andre Ward and his hard chastisement has been doing to Deontay Wilder. They're trying to get him to see the bigger picture here. They're gonna fucking rob your ass. So you might as well dictate the terms at your fucking pace. You might as well be that independent contractor that you completely say that you are. Look at what has happened with the tables turned in Tyson Fury's situation. We know Tyson Fury robbed fucking Deontay Wilder. We know Tyson Fury should be locked 6 feet under the fucking cell. We know that Tyson Fury should have his boxing license stripped. Because anytime you have cement in your fucking gloves and you put a dent in a human being's skull, and a human doctor, has come back to quantify, calculate, and verify that that was the case, and people were sitting here and getting on Marcellus Wiley or Marcellus Wilder because he is Deontay Wilder's brother, and they were feeling some type of way because he said that. No, it was the things that make you say, It was the things that make you say, It revealed the ugly side of boxing fans, the racist side of boxing fans. We know this shit exists because if the shoe was on the other foot, they would have put Deontay Wilder 6 feet under the cell. That's what they would have done. They would have treated him like El Chapo. That's what the fuck they would have done to Deontay Wilder. Let's keep it real. Let's call a spade a spade. Let's keep it a buck. Let's keep it 100, and let's keep it real here. This is how Deontay Wilder would have gotten treated. But the tables have turned. Deontay Wilder gave Tyson Fury his opportunity in boxing. If it wasn't for Deontay Wilder calling out and challenging Tyson Fury the way that he did, Tyson Fury wouldn't be in the position that he was in. Because he was a crack fiend. And he was a sneaky crack addict at that. And he was a sneaky crack, cocained up, snorted up, addicted fiend. That's what he was at his truest and his most properest levels. And he ballooned up in weight. And who challenged him? Deontay Wilder. Who gave him the opportunity? Deontay Wilder. And then you go, you spit back in Deontay Wilder's face. But see, I blame Deontay Wilder because we learned the cardinal rule. You can never trust a crack addict. You never trust a crack fiend. And this is what Andre Ward and Floyd Mayweather and their hard chastisement, although it's very extreme and it's hard and it's a hard position, they had to do this because this is the only way that they feel they can get Deontay Wilder's head on the swivel here. Deontay Wilder's finally getting the effects of what they were trying to say in their criticisms. Because they were like, you can't play around with this crack addict. You can't play around with this slick ass crack fiend. You gotta go in there and you gotta fucking emphatically stop his ass. When I look at that second fight, I don't give a fuck, and I argue that shit down with any one of them, because He Knows the Sport is the true He Knows the Sport can man. Anybody can fucking get it. Let me say it again. He Knows the Sport is the true He Knows the Sport can man. Anybody can fucking get it, and I mean that shit. The bottom line is this: Deontay Wilder, I don't care what anybody tell me, he wasn't Deontay Wilder in that second fight. He wasn't. The Bronze Bomber wasn't activated, and I feel that Deontay Wilder was paid to fucking lose. I feel that the fix was in, because there was no athleticism from Deontay Wilder. There was no explosion from Deontay Wilder. And see, this is where you ultimately respect the Floyd Mayweathers of the world, the Andre Woods of the world, and now the Earl, the True Spencer of the world. They not gonna sit here and let nobody fucking cheat them. That's not gonna happen. They'll give up their boxing career before they fucking get cheated. Floyd Mayweather was willing to do this with Bob Arum, so I give him the salute for that. Andre Ward did that shit when he sat out a few years because they was trying to do some fuck shit with his boxing career, and he was in legality. He lost a few years of his prime. Clearly he would have been, what, he's 32-0? Clearly he probably would have been close to 40-0. He lost a few fucking years. People forget that shit. Lest you forget, lest I have to remind your ass. He's an unofficial error-filled fighter, and I'm going to talk about that in a little mini-series. But these guys were trying to prep Deontay Wilder for the fuck shit that ultimately ended up happening to him now. Now Tyson Fury is acting like he don't want to have a fucking trilogy. There's no way for him to get out of it, because He Knows the Sport already broke that shit down to you. But you see what I'm saying? You lost. Now they're beriding you. Now look at what they're doing. They're criticizing you on epic proportions. But if you didn't allow yourself to do the fixes in, to be paid to fucking lose, because let's keep it real. Look how much money Deontay Wilder made in that calendar year. He never, and I could argue that down with anybody, Deontay Wilder never made that kind of money any other time. And I'm the biggest Bronze Bomber fan there is, but I have to call a fucking spade here. Anybody that watched that fight knows exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Deontay Wilder was not Deontay Wilder that night. That whole night I was yelling at the TV screen, where the fuck is the Bronze Bomber? Why is the Bronze Bomber not activated? And that's why Floyd Mayweather reacted the way he did. Because he probably felt like, damn, Deontay Wilder's not being Deontay Wilder right now. Andre Ward, the same thing. Deontay Wilder's not being Deontay Wilder right now. And you see, everybody's clowning Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder opened the floodgates for everybody to get after him. Dillian White? Are you fucking kidding me? Look at all of these Rudy Poo and Plum Plum brains. Classic Dolce troglodytes. Ultra fanboys with the ultra fanboy rhetoric trying to get after him. And it's all because he allowed himself to be paid to fucking lose. This is how this trilogy happened. And He Knows the Sport ain't feeling that shit. That's why He Knows the Sport had to keep the foot on the what? On the next. He had to keep the foot on the what? On the next in this video. Because I saw it. I did not see the Deontay Wilder that I'm accustomed to. Because I was expecting Deontay Wilder to be the same Deontay Wilder he was in that Brazil type of fight. Or in the Bermani Stavern second fight. Get possessed, activate the Bronze Bomber, and stop this motherfucker for once and for all. But look, now you lost a fight, and now you got to deal with the ramifications. You got to deal with all this criticism that Tyson Fury obviously wouldn't have gotten. Tyson Fury got technically knocked the fuck out in the first fight, and he skated all criticisms. They sat here and said that Deontay Wilder got outboxed. You see the double standards that's associated with boxing here? Deontay Wilder was robbed of a knockout in the first fight, and they said that Tyson Fury outboxed him. Deontay Wilder got robbed, clearly. He got cheated via Glovegate, got a dent in his fucking skull, and everybody's saying that he's exposed. He can't box for shit. You see Deontay Wilder? Now you get the message of what Floyd Mayweather was talking about. You get the message of what Andre Ward was talking about. They were brothers' keepers. Because when it's all said and done, you have to be your brother's keeper. And if people are not really looking at this shit for what it is, and they're just caught up in their feelings because they just Deontay Wilder fanboys, and they're not calling a spade here, that's what it is, man. At its truest and its most properest levels. Floyd Mayweather had to give Deontay Wilder that hard chastisement. Andre Ward had to give Deontay Wilder that hard chastisement. Because when it's all said and done, say what you want about Floyd Mayweather. Good, bad, or ugly. Say what you want about Andre Ward. Good, bad, or ugly. They never compromised their boxing, morality, and their ethics, all because they want money, And all because they want to run a fucking trilogy. Deontay Wilder did this shit. And now he's paying the ramifications for it. That's the cold-hearted. That's the unadulterated. And that's the cutthroat truth-telling fashion. This is He Knows the Sport. Checking out.